Alrighty, and we're back to back episode recordings. We're on a streak here in the new year, new us, huh? But what's up, guys? Sean got Lewis on the podcast today to talk about Tigres. How we doing, fellas?
Doing great, man. Great to be back. Great to chat it up with you guys again. The season looks promising, so I'm really excited.
Yeah, the Three Musketeers ride again. We're ready to roll.
Hey, that was good. He said the season is promising, Sean. So that's a whole lot different than the past couple of seasons. So that must be a good thing. So let's dive into it, guys. So 3-0 Santos victory in La Comarca Lagunera, which we talked about last week. And, obviously we've all kept up with Twitter and all the streaks and all games that have been going on. I think last 33 games prior to this one, six wins, maybe. No, I'm sorry. It was 12 ties and 6 wins out of those last 33 games. So very poor stat on of us visiting there, but we finally broke that. So initial thoughts, guys. Why don't we start off with you, Sean? Why don't you tell us any problems you had with this 3-0 victory?
I can't. You know what? I'm Mr. Happy Fun Times this year. I don't know what you're talking about. I was the one who predicted the win finally last week. So I think we're ready to rock and roll, man. It's the cocaine era. Let's do it, baby. Let's do it. No, there was no big problems for me in terms of. I guess if you make me complain about something, I'd say why does Cordova only get 5 minutes of playing time, included stoppage time? But other than that, there's nothing, no big complaints are coming off a 3-0 victory that saw the other side get a red card instead of us this year. So I think a promising start to the season. To have Gignac put one on the scoreboard, also excellent. Goriran coming up with the early assist. Love to see a new signing make an impact right away, as opposed to last year where it kind of felt like it took a while to build into things. And yeah, big game coming up against the defending champs, who are sitting at the top of the league on the 4 goal differential after they beat was it Puebla 5-1?
Yeah, something like that. 5-1 or 6-1, if I can't recall.
Yeah, so
Great points. We'll definitely dive all into that. Sean, Lou, why was it important that we finally came out with a victory in Santos?
If I'm not mistaken, we hadn't won there since the Apertura 2011 final.
Championship
So
run.
it'd been forever since we won there. It's a really tough place to play. In the summer, it's super hot, above 104 degrees usually. So it's been a place where we can't win, and the team looked fantastic. I mean, I think I tweeted out after the game that I think it's what the team needs. This older, more veteran squad. Piojo was running everybody to the ground with his system. And I think Cocca is going to be the coach we need moving forward with this squad. Um, more order in the back, slower tempo, a little bit more possession, hopefully. And I think it's going to do us. It's going to be the best for this team.
Mm-hmm.
It's what we needed, and I think it's what the captains want too. They never came out last season, or they never said it in previous seasons that they didn't like Piojo's system. But in my opinion, I think Nahuel, Guido Pizarro, Gignac, those guys preferred the slower tempo, and I think they're happy with Cocca. Cocca said it's going to take a little while to make that shift, and I don't blame them. A lot of times when you go from Tuca to Piojo back to more of an orderly kind of setup system, it messes with the players a little bit, right? Because you get in different direction from different coaches, and so I think it's going to take a little while, maybe 4 or 5 weeks, by the time we start to see Tigres, playing the way we want them to. But to me, I think we're going to have a very successful season.
I couldn't agree anymore. And I think one of the things that you touched upon that stood out to me, because had this thought in my head, was you talk about the order of Diego Coca's new system, which you can tell immediately the impact, even if his idea is not quite set as to how he wants to transition and build up, offensively. You can tell there's definitely order in the back, and some of the stuff that the players that have had the chance to talk about in press conferences since his arrival, and I'm specifically more talking about Igor Lichnowsky. He talked about the order in the back that they have now, and you could just tell it was shots at Piojo. So I think that the arrival of Piojo sounded great to the leaders of the squad, a change of fresh air, maybe the way more so training. But I doubt that, in the back of their head with all the experience in championships, and like you mentioned, they prefer the order, the ability to use more of their technical side and really establish the game as it progresses. So to me, that was the best, or what I took from the game as one of the best things, that it wasn't pretty the entire time. A few minutes in the first half, we gave up a lot of the possession and we let Santos attack us. But for the most part, the team had structured to, even when they didn't advance as much offensively, they still had a sense of moving, of cohesion forward together, and it showed with the goals and the presence inside the box with multiple people, attacking.
One thing I'm really loving is having less dependency on the wingers. We got way too predictable under Piojo with the wingers. So you had Floyd, a lot of it depending on Tovan or Quiñones or Fulgencio, and it was just constant crosses into the box that were going nowhere, and we became super predictable. So teams would let us sit back, make mistakes with the crosses, and then just counter us. And I get the impression that this Cocca team is going to be very comfortable with the ball and without the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just because tactically, I think Cocca is starting to mold them into the players he wants them to be. Under Piojo, I think we struggled. We did very well in the final third, trying to press teams. But when teams attacked us, we tended to struggle a lot. And I think under Cocca, we're going to fix that issue. And in really close games in the Liguilla, that's going to help us out a ton.
I think my biggest difference is just in noticing things early is both the positional flexibility of the midfield, but then also the difference that I noticed from Tuca to Piojo was it felt like we lost a lot of our either instant ball recovery or high pressure on the ball on defense. And so I was excited to see some of that come back in terms of it felt like when we did lose possession, we were really, Guido ran a lot. And in terms of defensively and to try and get some of those balls back. Carioca was moving up and down, back and forth. So I really enjoyed that, and then to also see, the ability of Quiñones to cut inside and kind of do his thing, and then run the overlaps. Gignac popping, Gignac has his free pass to do whatever the hell he wants, basically, and so you've got to have other people that are willing to move around wherever he thinks his best position is at the time. So to see him drift out to the left and then have Quiñones go and fill that center spot and then bounce back around and Gorriarán to make his run up the center and keep that pressure on, and Gorriarán has a motor that is just, that thing runs hot and I love it. There's nothing I love more than a box-to-box midfielder. So I really think that Cocca has, at least at the start, demonstrated a development of an idea of how we should play. That's, again, like you guys mentioned, kind of that mix of the better parts of Tuca ball with the control and the shape at the back, but also providing you enough explosiveness in the final third and in that kind of midfield area where it was meant to be free flowing under Piojo, but it kind of just became a jumbled mess where it was like, all right, well, there's space out wide, send it wide. And then, how many times did we see last year Mr. Quiñones just send a ball in that found no foot? And so the transition, early returns, only one league game, but even in the Sky Cup, it felt like, some of those first halves were really impactful in the central midfield of just jamming it up with guys and then letting people kind of be like, wherever there's space, I'm going to go run to it and just feed me an open ball. Let's make the easy pass. Let's make the easy decision. And then, allow your more creative players, your Gorriarans, your Cariocas, when he's on the ball, holding up, get his head up, look, find somebody to really demonstrate their high level abilities and capitalize on some of the skill sets that they have that we may not have done as well over the last couple of seasons with Piojo.
Absolutely. I mean, you hit it right on the nail. I was going to say, like, the ability to allow all the skill set that we have on the roster, giving it that order and allowing them to have that sort of possession, but also having that flexibility to play more free flow, is what we're seeking. And hopefully that is what the target is with Diego Cocca. So that is definitely exciting, guys. Any performances that stood out to you guys in the match?
There were several. I think we had at least 4 or 5 players playing exceptional.
Corrarian.
Chuy Garza was great. Gorriaran was fantastic. I mean, how great is that guy gonna be when on his first game he's already really solid? Just wait till middle of the season when once he's in sync with everybody. I mean, he's gonna be awesome. But Chuy Garza really
I didn't
played
even know
well.
he was from Monterrey. Just to chime in, nice to have a homegrown kid, man.
Since U15 process.
Yep, all the way through the system. So it's fantastic to see some of these guys get a shot and do well. I think he was really well. I mean, he reminded me of like a young Aquino.
Yeah.
I feel like these guys that grew up playing the winger position
Wingers.
and then move down to play wing back or right back or left back, they do so great.
Well,
Like Chaca Rodriguez was another one of those guys that was a winger and then converted, later on in his career.
By La Volpe.
And I think Chuy Garza is going to be one of those guys. He's going to be a guy that can feel really comfortable pushing forward, crossing, dribbling, but also defend well. So I think he's going to work out great under Cocca.
I really the comparison that I draw to Chuy Garza, not necessarily it's a specific player. I just think about what the right back position was. When I first started watching soccer, you had, Sean, you might not be familiar with these names, but Hugo Chavez from Morelia, Omar Trujillo in his own way, he came to play at Tigres. The right back and left back positions, even though they got up and attacked, were not as dynamic as they are now. So for Chuy Garza to be to start off as a winger or an attacker, and then learn the discipline to defend, because even when he attacks, he's not necessarily the best. He's not Danny Alves in his prime, but you can tell he has the skill on the ball based on how he dribbles and how he touches the ball as he gets closer to the attacking side. So that is going to be exciting. I saw a rumor that Loroña could possibly be leaving to America. I be totally okay with that if this guy solidifies that position. For this tournaments, obviously would gladly keep Loroña for depth, but he is the one that stood out to me the most. I think he has the most potential because overall everyone had an all-around game, even that Diego Reyes scored and he was solid defensively, as well as Igor Lichnowsky getting everybody's good side now. I'm not sure about Sean and Wood still, but Lichnowsky has been on fire the past 10 or so games.
Yeah, it's hard to criticize
I thought
him.
Reyes had a
He's
very
been
nice
playing
game.
well. Reyes too. And honestly, it would not surprise me if Reyes
starts
resurrects his career under Cocca, man. Like I have a feeling that Cocca, a lot of these guys that we were ready to get rid of, a lot of these guys are going to get better, including Quiñones. As much as I hate to say it, maybe even Quiñones is going to have a great season. And maybe towards the end of this, we'll be saying, man, I'm glad we kept him,
And that's why I brought up the point in the group thread earlier today about the conversation I had with my father in terms of Florian Tubon, why is he not considered the guy to be leaving instead of Carioca and Diente? And, it was one game, but what I saw also at Atlas is the wingbacks had an important role on the way that Atlas attacked. And I think about Aníbal Chala, is that his name? The left back that I had mentioned. Chala that I wanted. Excellent left wing back. Luis Reyes, Barbosa on the right side. So there were guys that were super important to where the winger position didn't have to be such a natural winger position that, hey, here you go, have the ball, go at it. And so Luis Quiñones exemplified that in this game with a more central role, which we know that he's played under Tuca, even with Piojo a little bit, where he can fit that role, and more so because of his his pace of back and forth to defend and attack at the same time. So that was where I was getting at with why not let go of Tubon and loan him out. He still has market in Europe. Loan him out, keep Diente Lopez till the December contract expiring. Carioca, for his age, and might not renew him. If you do, you give him another 6 months to a year of performances, maybe. But you keep guys that are going to contribute to the possible system that this guy is trying to establish, as opposed to keep a guy that you only have one position to throw at him, and it's on the wing. And he's showing you that he's not able to keep up with the pace of the game.
The thing with Tovan, I don't know about you guys, but I've had really hard time giving up on the dude because of the quality.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, and I think the front office, they see the quality of this guy, and they just can't understand why he's not fitting in, why it's not working out. And you paid so much for him, and you feel like, man, at any moment it's gonna click and everything's gonna work out, and he's gonna be the player we hired. And it's kind of hard to swallow your pride and say maybe he's not gonna work out. I finally got around to watching the Pello Maldonado interview where he interviewed Gorriarán, and at the end he has like a quick 2-minute quick question kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he asked him, most talented player and he said Tovan. He without any hesitation, and he said it. And I'm like, ain't that the truth? I mean, I've watched him in San Antonio and in Houston.
Yeah.
And you see him hit the ball and you see him dribble. It's just so clean. It's so good. And I just can't understand why he's not working out. Like it blows my mind.
I think it's the urgency, bro. The urgency of, and that might not even be the best description for it. I just, hear me out, see if it makes sense. I see South American players come to the Mexican League, and you see the intensity, not in all of it, but, in most players that, want to make a career here and have made a career here. You see the intensity, the will, the hunger, I don't know, that it factor, right? Like they want to win. And in Florian, it's like such a chill vibe. Like, yeah, he runs out there, but it's like, you're more worried about him, like, tipping on his ankle and like, busting one of his ankle or one of his knees. Like, he doesn't have the urgency to like play. And not the Mexican soccer is like back and forth, back and forth. It's got a lot of skill and passing ability, but it's just like, I just don't see him adapting to what a winger in Mexico has been accustomed to. Give him the ball, run down the flank and cross the ball, cut back, shoot. He has all of that, but in such a more slower pace. And I don't know if like eventually we're going to find a position for him. Woodsy mentioned like having him in a more central mid role, but you got Cordova for that. And that's why I brought up the fact that like Diente Lopez was the first sub and then Cordova, because they're guys that can play through the middle of the field without having to go out so wide, where they're trying to allow the backs to push up, and they become the wingers in that instance, just to have the possession and the tactical movement up high, but not necessarily because they're your wingers. So I just don't see like that fire in him to like figure out a way to like get himself on the field. Like, yeah, you can have all the skill set you want, but at the end, you got to produce, my man. And like, he hasn't. And like, he hasn't.
So a couple of thoughts for you. Just doubling back to the right back thoughts. I don't recognize the names you mentioned, but the Steve Cherundolo's of my youth and the Philip Lahms of my youth.
Okay.
The great right backs that you've seen.
Philip Lahm changed the position, though.
There's a little Chewy Garza there.
Philip Lahm was the first right back that I could say that like changed the way that the right back position started playing. Cherundolo, yeah. I see where you're going with it.
So there's some things to dream on there. I would say kind of, and then again to the transfer hopefuls, it's that debate between somebody who is highly talented but can't get on the field. It's always tough to let go of, a dream like that, I would say. When those are the players that even in other sports, when you see the tantalizing, I remember the guy that had one game for, call it, basketball. He was a 40-point game. And then he was just, you remember when, so some of those performances that Florian can put on, he has the ability to do things that other people on this team, I don't think, have the ability to do when he's right. It's just that we've so rarely seen him right and in form for us since his signing. Some of it I originally chalked up to, maybe he's got some cultural differences to catch up on. Hey, maybe he needs to get adjusted to the hemisphere, the timing, the language. maybe we can speed that up by having a French compatriot on the team. But at the same time, when you're 26 and going to a new country that speaks a different language than your native language, I imagine that can be a difficult kind of thing to find your role and find your place in the workplace. But even just some of the ticky-tacky injuries of, it feels like if he goes on a full sprint, there's a 50% chance that he makes a great play and a 50% chance he pulls a hamstring. And that's tough to try and rely upon when you've got a 17 game schedule plus a couple of bonus tournaments. And so I think of him as, how many times do we say last year, the Ferrari's in the garage and can we bring it out for even 45 minutes? Mm-hmm. At some point you sell the Ferrari for a Volvo, right? At least the Volvo drives.
Honda Accord.
So I'm right there. I'm right there with you on maybe Diente is the one to keep, because at least Diente's got a resume here of being a leading goal scorer in the league once before. There's at least something to fall back on that says, hey, when this guy has been put on the field and given a full 90 minutes, 8, 9, 10 weeks in a row, there's been performance there that you can justify keeping him in the squad and taking up one of those foreign spots. So I would say those are kind of just my rebuttal thoughts to both the right back discussion, and then knowing that we need to lose a foreign player if we're going to get either Borré or Morales from Rangers.
Think about it.
It's understandable why the board would be hesitant to let the Frenchman go, because it's not every day you can get a guy who's got a World Cup on his resume. Yeah. But at the same time, there's a reason why there's the level of frustration and acceptance of him leaving if he does leave amongst the fan base, I would say.
And think about it, just entertain it, Lou. You bring in Santos Borré, right? Everything happens. We bring in Santos Borré. You let go of Florian. You play the same way, and the first sub that's going to happen is Diente for Santos Borré. The next sub is going to be Nando Gorrarian out, Córdoba in.
Or be gone. Yeah.
Yeah, or be gone. And even okay. And then keep going. So keep going, because the game presents itself like what's he say in a different way. So then
Cordova for Quinones. That's a nice trifecta of subs right there.
And you have options, but as instead you let go of Carioca, like I mentioned in the previous episode and through conversations, you lose Carioca, Cordova goes into the starting lineup, or Bigon, whichever one. Then you have one midfielder on the bench, and then that's it. 2 tournaments. So then let's entertain the idea of letting Diente go. Okay, Diente leaves, you keep everybody the same, and then who's the sub that's going to come off as an attacking option, right? It's not the best scenario like where we're at right now, letting one of these guys, because they're all talented.
Well, and do you want to spend $15 million on a guy who's going to play 10 minutes when Gignac finally lets him?
See, I think the idea is to play them both at the same time and let Gignac ease up on the minutes towards the end of the game, and bring in Diente Lopez would be ideal. But if he doesn't, then he's going to play with another midfielder.
But if you're letting Diente go, you can't do that. You're going to have to do Flores instead.
So you bring in Cordova. You bring in Cordova as a second forward, as a center forward attacking mid behind Santos Borré, and that's what Santos Borré gives you, where he can play the poacher, like you said, in the box, and also be that Edu Vargas, Rafa Sobis, who can step out of the box and also create with the midfielders. So I think it's going to be a tough decision, though. I think that business-wise, you can choose one of the 2 out of the 3 options, and you can please the fan base, not please the fan base. But I think they're in a tough spot. I tweeted just recently in the last hour, one leaves in the summer, which is Carioca, one leaves in December, and then the other one has about a 2 more year contract, if I'm not mistaken. So where does a good business, bad business come into play?
The only argument I would make for Carioca is his age. He's gonna be 34 soon, and we got Guido, who's gonna be also 33 soon. Mm-hmm. So you've got 2 guys that play the central defender mid role that are already kind of getting up in age. That's if you do let go of Carioca
in the playoff, and LeBron James is 38 years old, I think we need to accept that athletes in this day and age may have a little bit slightly longer prime than we used to expect of them to decline at. I know soccer is a slightly different sport, but these guys are doing things at more advanced ages. Aaron Rodgers turns 40 this year and is still doing it at a pretty decently high level. So I think that there's still a 2 or 3 year window where those guys could still be good despite being the 34 to 33.
So who do you keep, Sean, out of the three?
No, more like
You sold me on
does
letting
he let
Florian
go?
go.
No,
Oh yeah, who do you let go?
I mean, I've bought in now at this point that Florian seems like the most logical choice in terms of results based on the field and then lineup flexibility. Now, me personally, I wouldn't be heartbroken to see Diente Lopez leave just because I would love to see Leo Flores get an opportunity. I think that kid could be really special if he got some regular minutes.
Okay, Lou, what about you?
I would let go of Carioca. I think it's
Yeah.
time to start. I think it's time to start thinking about getting younger in the central mid. I agree with Sean. There are positions where you can play into your late 30s, early 40s. Now, Will Guzman is going to play forever. That position allows you. Quarterback in the NFL allows you to play until you're pretty old. I mean, Tom Brady's still playing. But to me, the central defender mid position requires a ton of speed and running. You gotta make up a lot of space, which as you age, you just don't have the speed. LeBron's kind of turned into a little bit of a point guard, so he's able to kind of set the pace for himself at an older age. And to be fair, LeBron is in another galaxy as far as athleticism. I mean, he's just out there. He's a freak, in other words. But I think you let go of Carioca. You got Gorriarán, who could play that position if you want.
Yeah.
Let Pizarro be the central defender, and Gorriarán can play the mixed role. He can play central defender, midfield when we need him. He can be more of an attacking mid. He's a guy that can switch it up, and then that leaves you a spot for Cordova if you want it. And then those can be your three in the middle. And I think Cordova can do it just as well. So you let go of Carioca, and then in the summer you go out and get a young central defender midfielder.
Yeah.
And we still have Ayala, who's going to get healthy, and eventually we'll get another shot at it.
Yeah.
And he's pretty young, so.
And that's why I think it's a tough decision. I think it's based on preference on how you see the team. I think that, there's multiple angles here. You can keep Florian and he's the more talented player. You can keep Carioca. The only reason why I had an argument for Carioca keeping him is because the depth that his departure could mean, which you have. The depth is definitely there. But if he's starting already at his age and with all that depth, then obviously he thinks it's important to the system. So that's why I think that it'd be a little tougher on how he wants to play, but it's adjustable and flexible under Diego Cocca. So saying all that, I'm Florian Thauvin should leave.
Ideally, for me in the future, I think we should just have one center back foreign spot. There's no reason why in the league you can't find a good, or even from the youth system, a good center back that's Mexican that does it instead of having Lichnowsky take up a spot. That way you leave the foreign spots to the specialty spots that you can't get from the local Mexican talent.
Yeah,
you can't tell me that Diego Reyes can't do the same job that Lichnowsky can for and not take up a spot.
True. That's a valid point. That's a valid point. However, the problem now we're facing is we don't have another
roster just waiting to get healthy.
We don't have a backup. I think letting go of Hugo Ayala was a bit of an issue for me because at the very least, you had a decent backup there.
I think that was handled poorly, man. I mean, he has no team, so obviously something happened there along the way that ended bad, and that's not good because
according to Juninho, he knows what happened, but he's not going to tell anybody.
So they probably, what do you think? They probably didn't offer him enough money, huh? They probably gave him like a really poor contract and be like, you're not going to play, so why
probably like a league minimum, like $200K or something. And he's not going to take that.
No,
especially when he's a club legend,
Bro, you can argue he's the best defender in the club. Like, I mean, most people would say Juninho based on his skill set, but one played a slightly little longer and won a CONCACAF World Cup.
He's a club legend, man. And honestly, I feel like they did him dirty.
Yeah, agreed. And I saw a picture of him. Like you said that you brought up Juninho, and I saw a picture of or a video on Twitter of him going to watch Juninho, and I was like, damn. That makes sense. Like this dude doesn't even, he's not a San Luis like that he was projected to be and even offered to be the captain, if I remember correctly. So something must have happened there that
Well,
was not
you
well.
guys know I'm still stuck on FIFA 13 when I play, and he's the best player on the squad on the FIFA 13 starting roster. him and Torres Nilo. So those are
Bro,
my boys.
that was the year they were just like the always like best
Yeah.
defenses. And then I think around that time he won his Balón de Oro for best defender in the league. I forgot that he had. I think he has two, maybe one for sure, maybe two. But anyways, he was a beast. Like, and he was classy with the ball. Like he knew when to come out, not come out. His tackles were timing was unbelievable. It was
Best
exceptional.
slide tackle in the league, man.
Yeah.
No doubt.
So, but
You guys want to talk about this upcoming game?
yeah, because we got very little time. So
Couple
very,
minutes
very little
left.
time. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we talked a lot about the system. So just briefly, quickly, do we see any changes in the starting lineup for this upcoming game?
I would let them repeat. I think they did. I think that lineup was
Earned it,
pretty
right?
solid. Yeah.
The only one that I would
I
think
would
of,
bring in Samir.
Samir, you got to bring in Samir as a starter, but other than that,
well, that's what I was gonna say. So does Diego Reyes go to the bench?
well, let Lichnowsky and Diego Reyes flip a coin for it.
I like that.
Yeah, for real. They can arm wrestle or something.
I like
Arm wrestle
that.
for it.
And that would give us about 2.5 weeks to let the board ponder if they really want to let go of a foreign spot. And it could be Lichnowsky. And then we can have
Oh
this
man.
conversation
Yeah, and
again.
hey, end the forward or winger debate. Just let Lichnowsky go, keep Reyes, and bada bing, bada boom, you're set.
Write it out. So cool. We're on the same page. Anything different? Obviously, we want to see a little more of the system. Any score
I
prediction at
mean,
home?
Pachuca being a defending champion and then coming out 5-1 in the start of their title defense is an intimidating proposition.
We got
I think for a second game, but yeah, well, Arnaldo appears to not be worried at all. But I will express my concerns.
I'm running the confidence, bro. I'm running the confidence. I'm with Lou. The season looks promising. I don't think we're gonna have the best look of team, but I think we're definitely gonna compete by the time that playoffs come or Liguilla.
Pachuca has a ton of firepower. I'm with Sean as far as like, they got Luis Chavez, Eric Sanchez, they got Nico Ibanez, who's rumored to possibly come to Tigres. So keep a good eye on Nico Ibanez. He could be, if Santos Borré doesn't work out, it could be Nico Ibanez at Tigres soon.
Hear me out.
I take that.
Luis Chavez was the best player of the worst Mexican soccer national team in the history of Mexican national team soccer history. I don't want to hear it.
The thing with this 5-1 win with Pachuca, though, you got to take into account Puebla. Puebla is kind of beat up right now. Puebla, they lost their coach. Their constant squad changes. So, you got to take it with a grain of salt. I'm liking Tigres 2-1 or 2-0. I think our defense is going to show up.
Sean?
Is it at home?
Yeah.
Sunday, which is not the best time for us. Traditionally, we don't play that well Sunday night.
1-0
us at home. They protect the Volcan. They show the defending champions that we're not here to mess around this year. We're here and we mean business. We'd like to make a title challenge. Diego Cocca has the title, the two titles before this one. If this team is what we think it is, then this is a 1-0 victory. If this is we're still establishing our identity and figuring out how to play for Cocca, it's probably a 1-1 tie. Or Nico Ibanez does what he did to us last year and victimizes us for 2 goals and makes us all cry. But I would like to think that with the Volcan behind them, that they should at the worst come away with a point against the league leaders, and prohibitive favorites in the clubhouse, and kind of just move onto that third week in a good spot.
Yeah. I am going actually 2-0 victory, Tigres. I think the defense structure and it showed flashes even with Piojo towards the end. I think that if Samir doesn't indeed come playing, which he should, I think you bench either Lichnowsky or Reyes, but I think Reyes is the one that gets benched. You bench him, and I think the defense is set. I think that Pachuca will have a good game. I think it'll be an exciting game because they do have the firepower that you guys say. But I think that Tigres at home, first game of the season at El Volcán, the conference, Nando Gorriarán at El Volcán showcasing. I think even Florian might even get some minutes in the 83rd minute. Once he's past that threshold of he not getting injured, then we could possibly have a great ending to the match.
Hey, before we break off, Arnoldo, predictions for who we get from all the 4 or 5 rumored players. Who do we land?
No
Gotta
one.
make the call now.
I don't think
No
we
one?
land no one.
Come on.
No one.
Sean?
I think they're gonna fumble it, bro.
I would like to see Nico Ibanez if that's a real rumor. I hadn't heard that one floating around yet, but if Nico Ibanez can leave the champions and come and play with us, I'll take that all day. That guy gives us problems.
You like him, Lou? I don't like him.
Who, Nico?
Not
Oh,
for
yeah,
Tigres.
I love Nico Ibanez, man. I think he's a fantastic player. He would work out really well with Gignac too.
So is that who you think we land?
No. I think we're gonna land one of the Colombians.
Muriel or the guy from
Morales and
Rangers?
Borré?
Yeah. Morales, Borré, or Muriel. One of the 3?
Yeah, one of those 3. Where we land one Colombian. One of those 3 will land.
Cool.
I'm hoping it's Borré, but we'll see.
Hey, let the
I mean, I'd
cocaine era
be
continue.
happy with Muriel.
Yeah. All good ball players. Lastly, obviously, Lou, we know how to find you on Twitter. You're the Tigres god on the Twitter world.